Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by our guest for the afternoon, His Excellency Ambassador Medhat Meligy, the former assistant to the Foreign Minister. It's a very good afternoon to you, Mr. Ambassador.
Good day to you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time this afternoon. Let me start by discussing with you the recent announcement by Turkey, which has said it has decided to bar Israeli vessels from using its ports and forbid Turkish ships from using Israeli ports, as well as impose restrictions on some planes entering Turkish airspace. Also, a source added that Turkish flagged ships would be prohibited from calling at Israeli ports. How do you see this recent development and decision by Turkey in its, resistance to the Israelis?
Well, I think that if Turkey's announcement to cut all ties with Israel is really genuine and not just a political gesture, then this could represent one of the boldest and most consequential movements we have seen in the international response to Israel's ongoing crimes against the Palestinian people. I'm saying this because for months there have been widespread suspicions that Ankara's real position was different from its public version and rhetoric, and that certain channels of cooperation with Israel, although Turkey have claimed that it has cut down most of its relations with Israel, are continuing behind closed doors. So if those doubts are finally put to rest and Turkey has indeed taken the decision to break off all political and military and economic ties as it claims, then this is a very significant step that deserves, I think, recognition and encouragement.
Indeed. Ambassador, Mr.
However, if you don't mind just for a second,
sure.
But must also be honest about this point. The world has been countless statements from condemnation before. The European Union and many European states have repeatedly denounced Israel's war crime and even condemned it. But at the same time, while there is still massacres in Gaza and illegal settlements in the West Bank, yet at the same time they continue various forms of cooperation with Israel, whether through trade or technology, partnership, or even military deals, as long as it does not affect the current war, as they claim. So this contradiction renders those condemnation almost meaningless, because at the end Israel does not fear words, it only reacts to concrete actions. So the Turkish step, if it is fully implemented, could mark a turning point and release pressure on Israel. And I think it must come through, it has to help to more isolation of Israel, cutting the relations. And the last thing that I want to say on this, that this is the kind of actions and goal that we are expecting from all countries that are not bound to Israel by geography, and they do not share direct links with Israel. Let's not forget that there are countries who have border ties with Israel, have different calculations, simply because they are involved in negotiations or in direct wars with Israel. So these countries should not be taken in consideration when we are analyzing the Turkish steps. However, it's very important to keep pressure on Israel to contribute effectively to ending this Israel impunity in the international arena.
Absolutely, Your Excellency. Now, Ambassador Medhat, let me ask you, with regards to the recent decision by the United States to not allow the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas to travel to New York next month for the UN gathering of world leaders. What are some of the broader political implications of this move by the U.S. In the context of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, sir?
Well, first of all, we have to speak legally before we speak politically.
Yes.
This step is legally not acceptable, actually, by the United States as the state that holds the United Nations and maybe will force the international community all together to maybe move to Geneva to hold the yearly General Assembly there. And this, of course, would show once again the American politicization of several situations. This is not the first time. I mean, we've seen this when they threatened many of the United Nations personnel directly, like what they did with the head of the Prosecutor General of the International Court Criminal, or what they did to Francesca Albanese and many of the judges of the International Court of Justice. So, I mean, the idea of the United States being able to push forward any decision that is totally illegal simply because it can do that, this is something that has to be looked at and examined as its duties towards the international community. And I think the international community, not just Palestine, as Mr. Mahmoud Abbas have declared to condemn it, but actually I think that we have to be more specific from the international community and move to maybe another place to hold freely the General Assembly, especially that this year we are supposed to wait for many countries to recognize the Palestinian state, mainly from European countries that traditionally were siding with Israel, and that's why actually the United States step is quite clear that it wants to affect this decision by many European countries by not allowing the Palestinian delegation to be present during this session and rendering the move of those European countries useless in the absence of a Palestinian delegation.
Indeed. As you said, sir, this is an illegal move, and this does not align with the U.S. obligation as the host country under the UN headquarters agreement. Do you see, this, do you expect the United Nations to have some sort of response in order to make the United States reverse this decision?
Well, to make the United States reverse its decision, I think this is quite complicated, but I think more logic would be to move the meetings of the General Assembly to another place. I think it would be more of a step. Although I fear the worst, which is that we will hold the meetings in New York as scheduled, while the Palestinian delegation will be absent. Although, as we said, that this is an illegal step from the side of the United States, but to be honest, since when we've seen any just steps from the United States towards the Palestinians? I mean, although they are basically supposed to be an effective part in the negotiations that is going on with Israel, but actually recently, especially after after Mr. Trump has come to power in the White House, we've seen more and more steps that are first aligning with Israel with all its crimes, with the continuation of the impunity of Israel on one side, and on another side to take drastic steps and decisions and procedures against the Palestinian Authority and the Palestinian people in general. Because this step shows to which extent the United States is ready to break and to violate the international law in order to prevent any steps that could harm Israel, its protege. So I think the situation, if we are going to think that the the United States is going to withdraw this decision, I don't think it's feasible. I don't think they would even look at that. They definitely thought about all the repercussions of such a decision before announcing it. So I don't think that they are ready to take it back. But I think the logical step is to move somewhere else as a sign of discontent from the international community towards the United States.
Indeed, especially because countries like Britain, France, Australia and Canada had all pledged to formally recognize the Palestinian state during this summit.
Exactly.
Right, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave it at that because we have run out of time. I'd like to thank you very, very much, Your Excellency, Ambassador Medhat El-Meligy, the former Assistant to Foreign Minister. Thank you very much, sir, for your time and your insight.